Support for Consider This is provided by
There's a new place for senior care with daily laundry service. A place with a day spa. A place where seniors get the care they need in the comfort of home. Home Instead Senior Care.
from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Community 360 was founded in 1992 as a result of some initial visits I had made to nursing homes to perform music. I have a bachelor's degree in music performance, and someone suggested that I go to the nursing home and entertain residents, and so I did. And while I was there, I was so moved by what I saw, that people were singing and enjoying themselves, and just the fact that I would even come there and do that for them. They were so grateful. As I was going out and performing in the nursing homes, I would also spend time talking with the staff and asking them, what do the residents need? What are these people living here? What do they really need? And repeatedly, they would say to me, they need a friend, they need a companion, someone that would be there just for them. In fact, one resident even said to me, you know, I've got a lot of people around me, but there's no one here just for me. And so those kinds of messages really caused me to think about moving beyond just doing a monthly visit. We needed people in there on a daily basis.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, Community 360. Joining us to talk more about it are Madeline Wall, Assistant Director, and Joey Burt. Joey is a nurse liaison at Maple Crest Health Center in Omaha. Thank you both so much for being here and welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Madeline, I'm going to start with you. Bring meaning to the words aging population.
Well, statistically speaking, we've got about 80 million people who are baby boomers. We all know about the baby boomers born in and around 1950. And there are a lot of those folks turning 65 right now. And in the coming decades, they're going to start turning 85. And this is important to know because your odds of needing long-term care increase substantially, actually from 1 in 4 to 1 in 2 when you turn 85. Mm-hmm. And also, simultaneously, we have fewer and fewer babies being born. So we've got a diminishing population of younger people who are going to be available to provide services that support those older adults.
Wow, and Joey, talking about those services, tell us the care options that are available to those older adults today.
There's many options. The first one would be independent living, which is designed for the seniors who are still able to independently get around with their activities of daily living. Then you have assisted living, where there are a limited number of staff there to help where you're not able to proceed or complete a task. And then you have skilled nursing and long-term care, and that's what Maddie's speaking to here. Those are for those individuals who, without 24/7 supervision, without someone there to meet their needs daily, they wouldn't be able to survive.
Let's show our viewers, we have a couple of graphics, some fast facts about that skilled nursing care level. We'll put that up, and if you could just kind of walk us through that, Joey, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. So right now in skilled nursing homes in the United States, it's about 15,000 care centers in our nation. There's about 1.7 million beds available, and 3.9 million individuals reside in these senior care centers and these skilled nursing facilities. This is a huge percentage of our population, and like Maddie said, it's only going to grow, and those numbers are going to become much, much larger in the next 15 to 20 years. Yeah,
and the graphic that we're about to see is going to allude to staff, and based on what Maddie said, that's going to go down because really who is going to do it. So let's walk through the staff facts for our viewers as well.
Absolutely. So right now there's just under 2 million individuals that are employed, and they average about 33 hours a week. As you can see, the demographics of those caregivers, it is a female-dominated profession. We are seeing more individuals coming in, people of color, from all over the world who are getting into long-term care and nursing. 14% speak languages other than English, which is very important because our population is becoming very, very diverse. 48% of those individuals have college educations and degrees ranging from licensed practical nurses to registered nurses all the way to your bachelor's and your master's degrees. And 5% of that population do have a graduate degree. And most of those individuals are in administration and leadership roles.
Okay, thank you. And Madeline, I want to hit one more stat before we move on with the program. And this one's pretty alarming. So 50% of the people that we've referenced, those folks in skilled nursing care, will not ever have a visitor. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is a national average. It's around 50%, just under. But the reason for that is when you move into a long-term care community, perhaps, especially for people living in rural communities, you may still be in your rural area, but your children may have moved out of state or to the coast or bigger cities. So what's happening is we have a mom or a dad who moves into a nursing care community, but their kids are not around anymore. Or maybe they've outlived their family and friends. So they're just more and more reasons to become isolated, and especially if you move out of your home and out of a neighborhood where you have that community support, chances are you're not getting as many outside visitors.
Yeah, and with that isolation then comes one of the biggest challenges we have, not just in that population but others, depression.
Right.
Right, so talk a little bit about that. I think it's pretty important to hit that, especially heading into some of the things that we're going to be talking about during this program.
Certainly. So yes, there are, it can be very sad in a nursing home. People can become very withdrawn if they're not socially engaged. When you move into a nursing home, you have to lose a lot of independence. And that includes even getting in and out of your bed. It includes a lot of mobility issues sometimes. So what happens is people become withdrawn, and they remain in their rooms, and they stay in their beds, and they don't want to engage. And while the staff try and they offer a lot of activities, you know, every person is different, and somebody maybe doesn't get a kick out of bingo, so they don't want to go to that activity. And so that isolation becomes a real issue.
And all of that unacceptable to Paul Falkowski. Tell us a little bit more about that man we saw in the opening video.
Yeah, Paul is a visionary. 25 years ago, he was with his church choir. He plays the saxophone. And so he visited these people, and he learned over time and multiple visits that what people and the staff really wanted were folks to come in from the community and just befriend people and come back to visit and share stories and connect them to the community at large. And so Paul decided to found an organization that could send in volunteers. And that's what we do today.
Well, and interestingly enough, you think, well, Community 360 makes all the sense in the world, but it didn't start out that way. It started out under a different name. What's the story there?
That's right. Well, we started as Desert Ministries, and that we wanted to broaden our spectrum and not have simply a faith-based association. We wanted to be able to provide support to anyone and everyone of all walks of life. And so we changed our brand and our name in 2008, I believe.
And you say it with such ease, but when you change a name and a brand, there's quite a bit that goes into that, because people have recognized it for so long as one thing that when they see that new name, they can't associate. How long did it take before people really did start to catch on that, wait, this is really the same thing, it's just under a different name now, right?
Well, we're doing a lot to bring forth that visibility of, you know, it takes all of us. They say it takes a village to raise a child. We say it takes a community to care for our older adults. So that's what Community 360 is all about. It's every one of us. It's all inclusive, 360 degrees. And we still have mail coming to Desert Ministries sometimes. So it's a work in progress.
Well, that's kind of complimentary too, right?
Yeah.
So very volunteer based, obviously, but not everybody who expresses an interest is necessarily going to be a good fit. You have principles, kind of guiding principles, for lack of a better term, that you go by at Community 360. We're going to put those up for our viewers, and if you could just walk us through, these are kind of foundational pieces for you guys.
Absolutely. We have a volunteer program that requires certain capacities from people, and a lot of people that have a good heart and a good intention and want to volunteer in a nursing home will go and can go and do occasional visits. But what we're trying to build is people that are very trustworthy, are very reliable, and they become a huge source of support not only to the residents as companions, but also a support to the care staff. So we want them to know what they're doing, and we raise the bar pretty high. When we start, we interview a volunteer and we look for these values: community, selflessness, presence, compassion, commitment. Community, just having a sense of others wanting to give back. Selflessness, obviously you're going there with the intention to be with a person, not on your cell phone checking text messages, that kind of thing. Presence is a quality that's teachable, but it's a very hard concept at first. Imagine visiting a friend in a hospital room. The first thing that you'd like to do is maybe get them something. Can I do something for you? Can I bring you a glass of water? Can I get you a new pillow? But sometimes there's nothing you can do for a person. And so presence is about being comfortable in the uncomfortable moments, being willing to just be with someone, to say, I don't know how to answer that, but I'm here for you. Compassion is self-explanatory. Have a big heart, care about older adults. And then this commitment piece is really important. We ask that you go when you say you're going to go. It doesn't have to be every day, but if you say you're going to be there Thursday at 4 o'clock, those residents are looking forward to your visit all week. And so you build relationships and trust on your commitment level.
Wow. And how many volunteers do you have now?
We currently have 75 long-term volunteers that do weekly visits at 15 care communities in the Omaha Metro.
And where do you find these people, or how do they find you? How are those relationships established?
Yeah, well, it's funny. A lot of them are mid-career professionals. You know, they're looking to give back. They want to get away from their desk jobs, so to speak. And they find us online. We have a couple of volunteer postings. We do some recruitment booths and things like that. But a lot of them come online. They're just looking for something to do. And maybe they have a relationship with a parent or grandparent that was in a care community, so they know that they would enjoy that experience.
Okay, now how did you connect with Community 360?
That's how I connected. I'm exactly that profile, and I was visiting my grandmother in a rehab facility, and I noticed that she was really happy and comfortable making new friends, but there were a lot of other people around her that weren't having that same positive social experience, and I wanted to come back and sit with them and have the same warmth and love that I had with my visit with my grandma. And I found this training program online. I did it, and then I started as a volunteer. And it was about a year of weekly visits before Paul asked me to come on board and take the assistant director position.
Okay, so they have 75 volunteers right now. You said, why you, Madeline? I mean, you know, we can drill it down further. You're pretty selective, and rightly so, in terms of who you're going to sync up with, the folks, you know, for whom people like Joey are caring. So why you out of this pool of 75? Did Paul say, you know what, there's something there? What was it, do you think, that triggered that with Paul? And then maybe even more importantly, why did you agree to step into that role?
Yeah, well, at the time of that decision, I was switching careers, I was job transitioning. And so it just happened that he was also thinking about that transition and needing a person to come in and help with more marketing, visibility, development efforts. I have a master's in organizational leadership, so I was ready to step right in. And having the passion, I think, is what I think our volunteer coordinator, Lisa, is also very passionate. And the three of us as a team are, we're very driven by the service component of our work.
Very good. Well, we have 3 photographs we're going to put up while you're talking, just in general terms, painting a picture of who these 75 people really are. Talk about them a little bit.
Wonderful. This is Joy Rich. She actually volunteers at Maple Crest. She started volunteering about 4 years ago, and she started with a coloring group. So she brings huge bins of markers, crayons, colored pencils, and some coloring sheets, and a group of about 12 to 15 people gather. And then a few years ago, when she got a smartphone, she started playing music. Then the residents started requesting songs, and now they have sing-alongs.
Oh, cool.
And her group is known as the Coloring and Karaoke Group.
That's awesome.
This is Robert. When Robert was first trained in as a volunteer, he was a little nervous, and that's pretty normal because, like I said, that commitment piece, it takes time, and it takes time to build relationships. And so when he was first starting, he wasn't quite sure what activities to do or how to connect. So he asked Joy if he could come along, and now he's become part of their group as well.
Very good.
This is Michelle. She is going to be honored as our Volunteer of the Year for 2017, and she is known as Miss Reliable. The staff noticed that this woman, Denise, was becoming very withdrawn and isolating herself, and they asked Michelle to check in on Denise from time to time. So Michelle took a few extra minutes every time she was there, and she went to visit with Denise, and they started talking and sharing stories, and now they're fast friends and they're like family for each other.
Wow, and we have one more, we have 3 more actually that we want to show, but they're of the same gentleman and his grandson. So not only did you engage this gentleman as a volunteer, but then he reached out to the grandson. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yes, this is a very sweet story. So this is Andrew Samuels, and he is a talkative guy. He can just dive right into any conversation, just warm people right up. He's a go-getter. And he brings his grandson, who's about 10 years old. That's Adrian. And they just walk around Hillcrest Shadow Lake, and they pass out little candy bars in the dining room. They go and visit their friends that they've gotten to know over the past few years. And these people have become like second grandparents to them and family members.
Wow. And so, Joy, the list of benefits obviously goes on and on and on. And before we talk about that, I want you to tell us a little bit about Maple Crest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Maple Crest, we've been in the Omaha area now for almost 70 years. We'll be celebrating our 70th anniversary next year. We offer short-term rehabilitation, long-term care, and specific dementia care in a secured environment. We've recently gone under a $17 million renovation and remodel, so we were able to make our facility very home-like, very welcoming, very inviting and warm, and it's wonderful for our residents. Now they have this beautiful facility that's bright, well lit, well decorated, and it looks more like they're in a resort versus living in a care center. And that's what we want to bring to our residents. We want them to have a great daily experience. I always say they didn't come out of their home and come into a facility. We work in their home, and that's how our staff is trained. That's how our volunteers are trained to. When they come to Maple Crest, this belongs to the residents, and we work for them.
Wow. So how were you introduced then to Community 360?
Through their volunteers. When you see people that come through and volunteer in the nursing home, you do get some of those fly-by-nights. Maybe some young kids that are doing some community service, or you get some individuals that come in and they, this may just not be for me. And then you have the Community 360 volunteers, and they are your shining stars. They're reliable, they're committed, as Maddie said, but they're so engaging, and they jump right in. They help the residents. They get to know them. They take the time to get to know the staff, the residents' families, their backstories. It's incredible. And then through that, last year actually, the Community 360 recognized our activity director for her work, and so that's how I really got to know Madeline and kind of formed this partnership and friendship that we have. And it's all about taking care of our aging population, taking care of our seniors.
So how has Maple Crest changed as a result of all of those things? I mean, bricks and mortar, that's one thing, and I love your word resort, although you've just built up quite a an expectation for folks, resort. But, you know, internally speaking, you know, honing in on really what it's most important, and that is the resident.
Yes.
How has something like this presence, changed that environment?
You see now the excitement in the residents when their volunteers come. You know, you're making a true difference in their life. When joy comes in the building, residents look forward to it. If joy's, you know, not there for any reason, then the residents notice that too, because she's built that relationship, that bond. And when you talk about the depression and the social isolation some of these residents go through, that's the change you see. Now they have something to look forward to every day. They have that person who knows their name, they know what they enjoy, and they know that they have something at the end of the day to look forward to, this visit from this new friend that they've made. And that's really what happens. You build that friendship, and that's what everybody needs. When you leave your home, when you leave that independence and you go into a care facility, you leave all your friends, your memories, all of that behind, and you kind of have to start over and rebuild that in this new community. And the volunteers really help bring the residents together, so that way they can socialize with one another, and sometimes they realize, oh hey, you know, I get along with Joe great, and so then residents start building friendships and bonds, which that makes you a community. And that's really what they've brought to us, is that sense of community where we're bringing people from different backgrounds, different health backgrounds together to form this community that is Maple Crest.
So I want to ask you a question. Life is full of transitions, right? So you have these pairings that you walked us through with the photographs, and for one reason or another, a volunteer is unable to be a part of Community 360 any longer, and something obviously happens to that pairing. And so from where you're sitting, Joey, I'm sure that there's communication that's going back and forth. Hey, so-and-so isn't going to be able to do this any longer. Maybe you'll find someone who could step in, but I would imagine there's going to need to be somebody at Maple Crest who's right there on standby, you know, A, when that news is given, right, and B, to try to help through the transition. So what's your strategy there?
Well, we have a great activity team. We have 4 individuals, and that's their full-time job. Finding new, creative, engaging things to do for fun, making our residents' lives exciting, getting them away from the mundane medical routine, and so they can actually live their lives. And so if that ever does happen, or we lose a volunteer, then we have our staff that's able to jump right in. We consistently assign our staff members from our CNAs, our nurses, and our volunteers, so that way they really get to know and build that relationship. So if one piece of the puzzle goes away, we can kind of put another piece in there, and we don't miss a beat. We want to protect our residents from feeling any kind of worry or fear. And so if we do lose a volunteer, we're quick to jump in and say, how can we fill that void? How can we meet that need? What can we put in place? And sometimes it's, you know, let's go try a different activity, or here's another volunteer that we think you'll hit it off with really well. Or just broaden their horizon a little bit. Let's go try some new things.
Probably time to give a shout out to the activity directors, because their lives are, you know, they can be very challenged. They're dealing with all different personalities, all having come from very different places in their lives, and trying to figure out what works best for them in conjunction with how that fits into the whole community, right?
Yes, to me it would be a daunting task to take so many individuals. You know, Maple Crest, we have almost 140 residents, and each one of them come from a different background. And what they did for fun. Everyone's different. And so you have to find ways to make every activity open and engaging to all those residents. So we try to offer, you know, different clubs, different activities, outings, games, live entertainment. If we keep adding all of these things to the calendar and to your day, eventually you're going to find something that you enjoy. And then hopefully from that we can branch out and find out other things that they like. But absolutely, activity directors are the heartbeat of any nursing facility.
Speaking of branching out, in just the minutes we have remaining, Madeline, not all the stuff you're doing goes on within 4 walls. What else are you doing at Community 360?
Well, we're working on a capital campaign to get some new technology, specifically a webinar platform, because currently we offer a 2-day volunteer training in our office and on a campus of a nursing community, but we'd like to be able to offer that to rural Nebraska, expand through the Midwest, and hopefully eventually the nation. And it's not only for volunteers. We would hope to offer workshops, online workshops and training classes that could benefit staff. They could get additional CEUs, and that the members of the general public who wanted to engage in nursing homes might have a little bit of a online orientation available.
Wow, so the timeline for that is what? I mean, now, obviously,
Now,
till you get the money, right?
We're hoping to launch in early 2018.
Okay, very good. Well, that's a great segue into, I want to put up a graphic for our viewers. We try to do that in case folks are interested and they want to learn more, especially about Community 360 and maybe even about Maple Crest, Joey. They want to come see, what did you call it?
The long-term care resort.
Yeah, the resort. That's right, the resort. So community360.org, and give us that phone number, Madeline.
402-556-8032.
Absolutely. Okay. I want to thank the two of you for joining us today and for sharing your time, expertise, and your stories. I want to thank our student crew working so hard behind the scenes, to all of our viewers for watching. As we close, a trip to Nebraska City for the annual Applejack Festival as seen through the lens of Mallory Bart. She is a senior right here at UNO. We'll see you next week.
Gonna get a woo? Woo! Hey!
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at netnebraska.org/Consider This. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call UNO Television at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu. Support for Consider This is provided by
There's a new place for senior care, a place with flexible meal plans and 24-hour room service. A place where seniors get the care they need in the comfort of home. Home Instead Senior Care.